So you want to be able to look at a situation on multiple levels or from different angles so that you could get a more full perspective of the situation. And I liken it to when you read a book. So if I pick a book on business and it's the first time I'm reading it for the purpose that the book was written, whatever the subject material was that made me want to read the book. So reading it for general knowledge and take whatever notes that I can out of the book and adopt anything new that I learned and try to apply it in my own endeavors, right? And go through the whole book like that, put it down. Some months go by, looking for material to read. You look through your own collection and pick up a book that you already read. And so the second time around, you're a little bit more familiar with the material. You can understand it a little bit better. You can take things away from it that you might not have seen the first time or you didn't understand well enough to be able to adapt, right? So you take a few new things away from the book and maybe you understand a little bit better how the author framed the material, right? So now you can look at things in a different way when you're looking for problems to solve, or you may just start identifying new problems to solve just because you adopted a new way of looking at things, a more wide perspective. So you may read the book in entirety the second time, right? Or you may omit some chapters, like that chapter wasn't much good, so, or it didn't pertain to me, so I'm not going to reread that. So you may read it selectively the second time. And if you pick it up a third time, or maybe you do this on the second time you read a book, but each time you go back, you can see how far you've grown in your understanding of that material and maybe your experience with that material, because you applied things, you might have tried a few new things, and they may not have came directly from the book. They could have came from ideas that you put together from reading that new material. But each time you read it, you can kind of see that you've grown with it and you've grown from it and you understand it a little bit better. And you can kind of apply that same thing to your life, right? Even though each day is a new day, each time you walk down the street, it's a new experience. You could walk down the same street, it's a new experience. But overall, we typically live within, our dimension, our actions, our truth. So we don't encounter a lot of new, totally unique experience. We're creatures of habits. We kind of have a lifestyle. That's what we live. We live a lifestyle. So you encounter similar situations, or at least you'll encounter them while you're doing similar processes. Like work is a routine. You might encounter different things, but it's still work. You're familiar with that situation. But as you grow, you can view those situations differently. You interact with them differently. Ideally, you become more and more mature. Your perspective becomes wider and wider, and you become more experienced in dealing with situations. And the best way to equip yourself to do that is to get familiar with looking at things from a wider perspective and different perspectives, because like we have layers in our mind too, right? Like you kind of have to force yourself to think in a linear way, to only think so rigidly about one thing or all things, right? Like in your life, like maybe you just have one way of looking at everything in life, but you kind of have to force yourself into that box. You have to refuse looking at things from a different perspective. So the best way to equip yourself to have a wider perspective and to be able to solve problems with different rationales is to practice it. And I just found it really useful, and reading is one of those things, because every time you pick up a new piece of material, especially if you going cross industries. It may not be an industry that you're in, or it may not, maybe you're into music and instead you pick up some new material in visual art. But every time you go into a different field and learn something new, it gives you the opportunity of learning something new in a field that's not directly connected to what you do, and being able to get a new idea from that and apply it into your industry. And it's just been something that worked, and it just is valuable to me. So I thought I'd share it. But yeah, it's cool. So yeah, with that, I'll catch you on the next one.